Hello.
Hi.
It is March the 18th in 2023. I am an addict and I have been clean 39 years. And my other buddy here, addict number 2, has been clean 41 years.
Yeah.
And
I'm Fred today.
yeah, I'll be Ethel. So we're going to do step 2 today. Pardon. And this may hopefully not suck is our goal today, because I'm just not batting 1,000 today. Step 2 is we admitted we were powerless. We came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity.
I think we should say it won't suck as bad as it sucked in the past.
Okay. Well, if it sucks too bad, we can always re-record it.
Yeah, that's a really good thing about sucking.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have one thing I wanted to say before we start.
We are starting.
I have one thing to say now that we are starting.
Go ahead.
Because people ask me this,
Mm-hmm.
and I just want people to know, because like you said, you've been clean for, what? You've been clean a long time.
Yeah.
I've been clean 41 years.
39 and 41. Yeah.
Okay? And people will ask me, and they'll look at me, and I'll tell them, I said, why do you think I tell people how long I've been clean? And I'm like, being clean is not a badge, right?
No.
It's something I should have been doing all along.
Right.
And so I tell people that the reason I do that, and that's how come I will say that every time here, is because you will know that anybody that's as batshit crazy as I am can stay clean for 41 years, be married for 35, raise children and grandchildren, and not go crazy. That's an absolute miracle. And if I can do it and you can do it, anyone can do it.
Right.
And that's the reason I say those things, because people do say things like, dumb things like, well, clean time isn't important, and I'll tell them, well,
Try to get some.
Get some clean time, tell me how important it is or isn't. They're like, well, it doesn't equal recovery. And like, nothing equals recovery. Recovery equals recovery. And you're going to, through your life, you're going to be in recovery, and you're either going to be the problem or the solution. So I just don't want people to.
Well, we say it because we were asked to say it. In some of our preliminary things, we would say, I'm an old timer. 2 old timers spout off. Well, what's the definition of an old timer? Well, that in some of our, I hate to say this, but market research, actually I let some people listen to this stuff, and they said, you need to define that by telling them how long you've been clean. So that's why we say the years.
Is that why we say it?
That's one of the reasons why we say it, because we were asked to. As to what an old timer is. If we're 2 old timers and we're spouting off about stuff, then we need to define what that is.
Because for me, the simplest thing about recovery is,
I didn't get high today.
Well, that's definitely the simplest thing.
Yeah.
And that I really only have 2 decisions to make every time my mouth is open, and that is whether I'm going to act or react. And,
True.
And those are the only things that I know that I have any kind of control over. And the more I learn how to act and not react, my life is much more manageable.
Right.
And I really thought maybe, since we're going to be talking about step 2, that's one of the things that we talk about powerless a lot, but I don't think that we a lot of times talk about what we are or aren't powerless over. And the older you get, the more you realize that power is just an illusion, and it means absolutely nothing except for how you use your brain.
In step 1, we talked about this in our previous step 1 video. It says we admitted we were powerless over our addiction. Now, I'm powerless over a lot of other things, but I'm also powerless over addiction, and that's the important thing here.
Well, because
the addiction is, as far as recovery
all
goes.
the other things kill you slowly.
Yeah.
And you're going to die from your addiction, because addiction is a primary disease. And the primary disease never kills you. It's always the symptoms of the primary disease that kill you. Ask somebody with tuberculosis, they'll tell you.
Yeah. You okay?
Yeah. You can ask me that. Fred has issues, so we just need to let everybody know that Fred has a few issues.
So we came to believe that a power, and we were talking about power, greater than us, so could restore us to sanity. We came to implies a process. I heard I came to, and then I came to believe.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's a process. That a power greater than ourselves. Okay, it's not me.
That's the best part.
That's going to hurt me. So if I'm fixing to do something and I get it's kind of like one of those V8 moments. I could have had a V8. I don't know if you're old enough to remember that. But it's a realization that what I'm about to do is going to hurt. And those are gifts given to me by a higher power. It can be a song on the radio. It could be a beer commercial. It could be a bag of manure. That's my favorite story.
Be a sunset.
Be a sunset or anything that tells me, dude, this is going to hurt.
Anything that's not a cat.
A cat?
Yeah, I don't like cats.
Okay. Well, some people do. Okay, I'm going to pause it for a moment.
Okay, I have something. You pause it, but I have something to say now.
Say.
Okay. There's some things in here that you got the good stuff. Now I'm going to get the chaff. Is that some of the things that I think that are really important if you just read this, just read the step as it is, and you don't read the white parts. It says we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. The important words for me in some of those, I always like that we came to believe, because that's what happened to me. I didn't believe anything about Narcotics Anonymous, and then you guys taught me new stuff. One of the things that I really, if you've been in the program for 13 seconds, or you've been in the program for sometimes 4 or 5 years, or you listen to Oprah, they'll tell you these things that they'll say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
I've heard that.
Yeah, and that's the first step of insanity.
Okay.
But real insanity is when you've been clean 15 years and you're doing the same thing over and over again, knowing exactly what the results are going to be, and you're still doing them.
I always call that effing crazy.
Well, yeah, but that isn't effing crazy.
Insanity?
Insanity.
Yeah.
Right. And that could restore us to sanity, for me, means, it took me a while to figure this out, it means that it's not going to necessarily happen. And you know me, anybody that knows me knows that I'm a little nuts, and so I like the idea could restore me to sanity, which is much better than will restore me to sanity, because it's a process, and my insanity now is much different than my insanity when I had a year clean.
Something just clicked. The difference between would and will. Will involves, to me, would seem to be an event. Could is more of a process.
Right.
Will would seem to, will restore me to sanity. Okay, when? What I got to do?
And this is where we learn that we are, our brains, okay, sanity is a really weird word it's a hard word to define, but our brains don't work the same way other brains work.
This is true.
I hate that word normal people. I hate that, right? Because nobody's normal.
Right.
But my brain and your brain have the same kind of weird dysfunction.
Right.
That, first of all, we can't make good decisions on a consistent basis, which is part of being insane, right? It's about insanity. And that we I can't believe what's in my mind. So many people, if it's in their mind, they believe that it's true.
Mm-hmm.
And I know from experience now that 80% of the stuff that's in my mind is not based in reality. And if it's in my mind and I don't want to tell you about it, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you can use any kind of word. I don't care, but it's nuts.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll be thinking, we'll be the guy. We'll be all camping,
mm-hmm.
and there'll be this great big cliff,
mm-hmm.
and I'm the guy that says, "Look at me! I'm going to jump off this cliff," and everybody's going to say, "Don't do that! You'll die. You'll hurt yourself." And I'm like, "Oh no, you don't understand. I know how to jump off cliffs.
Right.
I went to cliff jumping off school. Right. I know how to do this." And so
when there is no such thing.
Right. No. And then when I jump off the cliff, and I'm sitting there dying, and I got bones broken all over the place, and people look at me, and then I say this is the insanity part for me. I say, "Why didn't you tell me it was going to hurt me?"
Right.
Right.
We did.
Yeah, that's the insanity part. That's what goes in with the powerless part, where people say, "Why do you do these things?" And there's only one answer. Once you've been around, there's only one answer, and that is, "I don't know."
Right.
I don't know why I do these things. I have no idea. I just do. They're like, "You're smart." Yeah, well, that's what people say. But and so my brain cannot differentiate what is between real and not real. And the part for me, it's not the higher power part for me is what is a higher power? And like you said, a sunset can be a higher power.
Mm-hmm. A power greater than ourselves.
Right. I could be reading this book and wondering what's going on, and then I read a paragraph, and it has changed the way I look at something.
Right.
That's a power greater than me.
Right.
Right. You and I can get together, and I can say something smart, and you will look at me because I know you really well, and you know how to say this, and you'll say, "That's stupid."
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say, "Are you sure?"
Yeah, I've had that experience.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
And you would say, "I'm real sure."
Yeah.
And I say, "Well, I've known you long enough that I'm going to trust you that that's stupid, and I'm not going to do it." Right? And I think that's the most important thing, because on step 2, for me, is that, well, first of all, being a guy that's not too big on cognitive gods, I have to figure out a way to listen to cognitive gods. And the only way to do that for me is to know that whatever goes in my head, especially if I don't want to tell somebody, that's the stuff I need to tell them, so they can tell me, you don't want to do that. Right? I've had that experience 3 times so far this week. You don't want to do that.
I just noticed that pain may at times become a power greater than ourselves. Sometimes it is the only thing that will make us do something in a different way to get different results.
Yeah.
So even pain can be a power greater
But see,
than
and that's
ourselves.
good, because when I came in the program, I got on step 2 there's something wrong with our brain, and when that stove is hot, we don't believe it's hot, so we have to touch it 2-3 times, right? Mm-hmm. And so after you've been around a little bit, your pain threshold goes down, and now you only have to usually
touch it once.
Touch it once, or maybe twice. I one time went to a meeting, and that guy Lee that I will talk about that really upset me a lot. I don't know what I did, but I did something that I kept doing over and over again, and I learned not to do it. And I went to the meeting and I told everybody how wise I was because I had learned from my own experience. And Lee took me to the side. Basically, Lee said things like, you're a dumbass. That's usually what he says. He didn't talk nice like I do.
Right.
And he said, you're 3. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, if a 3-year-old touches a hot stove, they know that they will never touch the hot stove again.
Right.
And I'm like, okay. He says, you need to watch the 3-year-old because he said smart people, intelligent people, let other people make the mistakes for them, and then they don't have to make it, and their life is better. And he goes, if you want to go to a meeting, he says there's only 2 things to learn in a meeting. He goes, what to do and what not to do. And what not to do is just as important, or probably even more important, than what to do.
Right.
Just because that pretty little girl has nice legs, you might want to just say hi and then go home.
Go home. By yourself.
By yourself. Right. That's what I meant. Yeah, by yourself. Go home.
So you were talking about how our brains are different. And one of my favorite things, it was this lady, I went to this meeting, and it was a meeting for parents. And the parents said, I don't understand why my drug addict thinks the way they think. And I said, well, be grateful. And they said, why? And I said, well, let me give you an example. I said, if they came up with a pill that would cure addiction and return your family to its original state, what would you think? And she said, well, I think that would be wonderful. And, I'd do what it took to buy it, even if it cost $1 million for my son, and went on and on and on. And I said, well, do you know what your son would think when he heard that news? She said, what? I wonder what 6 will do. Because we think different.
Well, we do.
And
we do think different.
Yeah. One of the things I learned about the different fellowships for the parents was they need to learn to stop doing things for the addict, and then in NA we learned we need to start doing things for the other people.
And for ourselves.
Yeah.
And then the other part is that I don't think this was Lee. I think this was another asshole that I didn't like at the time. But I was working step 2, and I said we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves, God, could restore us to sanity. That's what I read because I like to read the white parts. Okay, and
didn't say anything about God.
No, and that's what he said. He said, "What are you talking about God for?" And I'm like, "Well, power greater than myself." He goes, anything is a power greater than yourself. And I'm like,
right.
Oh. He goes, if they wanted you to know about God, they would have put God in that step.
That's
and
right.
I said, but isn't that what we're looking for? He goes, no, not really. What we're really looking for is a way that if there, whatever God is or isn't, and we got the choice to believe that, we're really looking for a way to be able to communicate and to listen if that God tells us something that we need to hear.
It's called awareness.
There you go.
If the takeaway I think for most of step 2 is just being aware of what's going on around you, because you're getting, little things, gifts from your higher power that will tell you, this is not a good idea, and that's why bouncing stuff off of a sponsor or trusted, confidant or someone who knows you well is always a good idea, even if you think it's a really good idea, and it might be, and they might say, yeah, that's a good idea, go ahead with that, but at least I checked. Well, you see what I'm saying?
And they will tell you that probably 10% of the time.
Yeah, and not very often, but every once in a while. So.
But see, that's what he told me about. He says, in the powerlessness part, he says, where does it say anywhere in step 1 that God's going to help you? I mean, it says, you know, restore the power. You know what he meant by that. I don't know if I'm using the right words. It's really hard sometimes for me to use the right words. But what he meant by that was that you can believe in God all you want, and you can do all these things all you want. You're still acting insane and crazy and doing absolutely insane things. So how much is God really helping you?
Mm-hmm.
God really isn't helping you at all at that time, because you're not listening to whatever it is that you learn how to listen between steps 2 and 3 to try to differentiate what's your voice and what's not your voice. Right? Yeah.
You know, they say it's a self-help program. It's not a God-help program.
Right. Yeah, they say it's a self-help program, and we're here to save lives and not souls.
Right.
And not only is it not, it's a self-help program, and it's a program for people that want to be here, not people that don't want to be here.
Right.
And it never says anywhere in this book that we cure addiction.
Right.
And what I was thinking when you said that about the pills, this is what I was thinking.
What's that?
I was thinking I'd have 2 bottles, and I'd have a bottle that I put the pills in and didn't take because I didn't really want to get better.
Right.
And then if something happened, then I could take 2 or 3, and obviously I'd get better a lot quicker.
Right.
All right? Yeah, because we don't necessarily, if we wanted to get better, that's the insanity part. If we wanted to get better, we know the avenues on how to get better, because most of us are smart.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us have an intelligence, and most of us are all going to say, why do you do this? And we're going to say, I don't know. That's the only answer that makes sense to anybody, because it's like, well, I don't know. Why did you jump off that cliff? It seemed like a good idea at the time. I don't know. So
we're
getting there.
Yeah.
Let's put it on pause. We'll think about a few more things, and then we'll
to read the black parts.
Say that again.
That hope?
Yeah.
Okay. It said, I forgot that the spiritual principle between step 2, which step 2 is hope. I forgot about that. And I said that Ethel is the one that knows all the spiritual principles, and Fred is the one that tries to read the black parts, because he figures if he reads all those black parts, all the spiritual principles will fall into place, and he doesn't have to memorize them, and he doesn't like to memorize things.
One of the things you said to me the other day when you called and talked to me about the doctor visit and all was that you had hope.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing I thought of was second step stuff, because hope is one of those things that without it, there's not any point. Most folks won't even continue to suck air. They'll figure out a way to stop sucking air.
I've thought about figuring out a way to stop sucking air.
But it's something that when I was in my addiction and I felt alone, I was alone, and I was slowly killing myself on the installment plan, as they say, that I didn't have, you know. I knew I had a problem of some kind. I didn't know what the matter was. I just knew I was miserable, and I hated everything and everybody. And so when I came into the rooms and I found out, okay, my problem was the dope I was taking because of the way I was thinking. And they said it, and I've said this a couple times recently, and I still don't understand it, but, you know, step 1 is like taking all your clothes off, standing out in the middle of the street, and my thought was, that's just embarrassing, but it's a metaphor for, you know, I'm not real sure what it means, but it means that, you know, I alone will destroy myself.
Well,
so
and I think it means that you open yourself. I think part of our problem is that most of us don't have social skills, and we expose more of ourselves to human beings then we need to, and we don't have a really good trust. We either trust you 90%, or we trust you 0.
Right.
Right. We don't. We have no. There's no middle trust. Right. And see, and that's the thing with that hope, and I'm really glad we brought that up, because I've been doing this crap, and it's not important what crap I'm doing, but I've been doing it for 3 years.
Okay.
For over 3 years. And yesterday, or whatever, I went to Vanderbilt.
Tuesday.
That was the first day in over
had
3 years that I felt hope.
Right.
And somebody says, "How you feeling?" I'm like, "I really don't know."
Right.
And I have Patty and I had a talk about it for a little, or, you know. Am I Ethel?
No, you're Fred today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because if I was Ethel, I could be a homo.
Yeah.
And she's like, and I'm like, I don't know what the word is. And she's like, I said, I think the word's hope. Right? And then when you said the second step being about hope, when you first said it, I just completely, I mean, you know how we are. I just completely didn't listen to it, because I know intellectually that when you have a problem like in step 1 where there is no answer, right, and that the only answer in step 1 is that this is as good as it's going to get. It's ain't ever going to get any better than this.
Right.
And I forgot the fact that that's why there's 11 more steps, because those steps build on each other, and the second step builds hope that actually there may be an answer, that you don't have to be like this the rest of your life, right? And that you can learn how to communicate and figure out what a power greater than ourselves means.
Right.
And it doesn't have to start with it doesn't have to be God. It can be good, orderly direction. It can
Group of drug addicts.
Group of drug addicts.
Like
great outdoors.
Oh, I like that one. I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, it can be all sorts of different things.
Pardon.
And then those are things that you can start to work on and realize that whatever is or isn't out there, it doesn't matter. You can still learn, because I used to make fun of people sometimes when they said, well, I got a sign, and I'm like, well, what kind of sign did you get? Like a Chick-fil-A sign? Or
stop sign?
Yes, what kind of sign? And then I realized, oh, sometimes you're just not all there. The sign means that you saw something that triggered something in your brain that taught you something that you either knew or didn't know or remembered, right?
Right.
And it's like, that's a sign. That's a higher power.
Power greater than yourself.
Yeah. That's something that you can't do on your own. You know, like if I run in the back of a car, the sign for me is I probably should not follow cars so close.
Right.
And I won't run into them.
Right.
And it's not the car's fault because it stopped too damn fast. It's my fault because I didn't have control over my vehicle.
Right.
Okay.
The hope in step 2 is the first thing that I remember a sense of, this might actually work. You know, this whole thing that they're talking about might actually help me. And you know, I've heard it said that the first 3 steps are the foundation, and the middle 6 make life not suck, and the last 3 is a repetition of the first 9 on an ongoing basis. So
yeah, because it's good that life doesn't suck.
And also how the Serenity Prayer and steps 1, 2, and 3 are tied together. Whereas, you know, I can't do this. I'll get something to help me, and then I have to let it help me.
Well, and not only let it help me, but have the courage to let it help me, the courage to change. Because really, if you read that whole step, what it's really telling you is I mean, that prayer, it's what it's telling you is that you're the problem.
Right.
Right. It's not, none of this other stuff is the problem. The problem is you're thinking a certain way, and the way that you're going to be helped
is not the way you're going to be helped. You have to have the courage to do the things you have to do to get better.
Right.
Okay, so that might be long. I don't know, it's 32 minutes. We're trying to keep, we decided we made a decision 20 to 45 minutes, and we don't want to talk about too much. And if we get too redundant, what we really want people to do is, we really do encourage normal human being, the word isn't criticism, critique.
Interaction
and critique. And we want to answer any questions that we need to answer, and it's okay to disagree with us.
Right.
And you might disagree with us because our learning curve is a little longer than a lot of other people's learning curves. It's just really important to understand.
And as I tell people about this channel, one of the things they forget to do is, okay, if you listen to something, like it, click the thumbs up. It really does help with the algorithm. Click subscribe and then click the notification bell, because that lets you know when I do upload another episode, because it's been sporadic at best since we started this, and hopefully it'll get better as I'm getting ready to have more time in my life to devote to this. So we'll hopefully have another couple of episodes here shortly.
But we're not doing this for people. I mean, I want people to listen if they want to listen, that's fine. But we're not doing this for people to listen necessarily. We're just doing this because we're two guys that like to talk to each other and banter out ideas that aren't always bantered out at meetings, right? Because we have our meeting talk, and and then we don't always say the things that we might really want to say, and we really would. I really. I don't know where Ethel is with this, but I really like critique.
Yeah.
I really like people to tell me, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, or I can see the truth in that, but I like to
add
be
it
able
to the comments, man.
Yeah.
We'll read it.
I will read. We will
be the
read,
first to comment. We've not had anybody comment yet.
Will read. We will talk and answer. I mean, we might even just need to have an answer. Sometimes maybe just to answer a question where people have, well, I don't really quite understand when you said that.
Right.
Stuff like that. The only thing that and I keep just saying this because I hate people. So if you want to say something negative about us, just keep it to yourself, because we say enough negative things about ourselves anyway, and we don't really need you to tell us that we're wrong, because hell, we're probably wrong most of the time anyway. So the only thing that we haven't done, somebody asked me the other day, he goes, how do you stay clean 41 years? And I'm like, it's pretty easy. And they're like, really? I said, yeah, if you don't put in, you can't get high.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, that don't sound easy. I said, easy and simple are two different things.
Right. It's really simple. It's not easy.
I said, you're going to be able, if you don't put in, you're not going to get high, and then you're going to learn from it.
That's right.
Right, and you're going to build on it. But if you get high, then you're starting from a backwards place.
Right.
I always hate it when people say, well, you relapse, so now you're starting all over. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't forget what you learned, but you have to sometimes, like you and me, I have to relearn the same things over and over again. Because,
Exactly.
Exactly. That's why they made that's why they have a man named John Prine.
Okay.
Because that's an outside issue, but he helps me learn over and over again.
Okay, like, subscribe, comment, click the notification. We love you. We'll talk to you soon. I'm going to end it on that.